opinion of the U.S. has dramatically improved since Biden replaced Trump. I think that matters. I'm not an isolationist, so I think it's important that other countries respect the office of the presidency. And under Trump, it was a joke, literally laughed at the UN, goes to India, mispronounces 10 Indian names, and the crowd is just leaving. It was a humiliation everywhere he went. So I think that's it's like a soft thing that I think is really good.
So the fact that we're no longer feared is a good thing.
I don't know where you're getting that we are no longer feared.
So you think people fear Biden?
What I'm asking you is what data do you have that we are no longer feared?
Well, what data is not any data to give. I mean,
then how do you know it is
the
truth?
But during Biden is when Russia felt comfortable bullying Ukraine. During Biden is even if you look at Afghanistan on the way we left, people on the left were not happy by the way we left Afghanistan.
Which people?
Even 82 billion. I can give you a lot of different names.
Like who?
CIA. Who was the CIA guy that we had here who was on
Philip Mudd
with a Z? What's his name?
Matt Zeller.
Matt Zeller, CIA agent who was on MSNBC. He called him out. He was on MSNBC with.
But that's one person, right?
No, but there's a lot of them though. If I actually pull it up and if I do the Google search on it, I'll find plenty of names from their own side.
Let's do it. That's fine. But I think one important thing to back up is you first kind of gave me what's not really a very fair question. You go, are you not worried that the U.S. is no longer feared?
So you're saying they don't fear you?
But hold on. Let me finish my response. Okay. Yeah. You first presented to me, and these are a lot of conversations go like this. You present to me, is it not a concern to me that the U.S. is no longer feared? And I said, well, where are you getting that? Where's the data? You go, there is no data. So let's first start with.
What I said is it's not the fear. I didn't say there's no data. You can't pull data, meaning you can't find data on fear.
Then how do you know that that's
fear
the case?
is action? Fear is action. Did during Trump Russia attack Ukraine?
No, that's not.
What happened with Palestine and Israel?
What happened?
What happened? They came together after 20-some years.
What?
What are you talking about when you say
what? What are you talking about? Hold on.
Well, he moved the capital to Jerusalem, is what you're saying.
So let's.
I don't know if there's
that.
been peace in the Middle East or anything like that.
Has there been any progress on peace?
Very limited.
Did moving it wasn't the capital. Did moving the embassy?
The embassy.
Hold
correct.
on a second. Let me ask the question. Did moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem get us closer to peace, or did it get us further away? Do either of you guys know? I don't know if you've studied this issue.
There's arguments on both ends, but it has not led to peace and prosperity in Palestine, correct?
Did Trump promise, this is a very critical, clear question. Did Trump promise that Jared Kushner would solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict during the first term?
That's just
a
overreach.
yes, no. Did he promise it?
I don't know if he promised it or promises made, promises kept. He was assigned to that duty.
And did it happen?
Did what happen?
Did Jared negotiate
No,
peace?
but I don't think anybody believed that peace was happening in the Middle East.
So it's okay for him to make promises that are obvious lies?
But make the argument. Go back to the argument about the fact that America on all polls today is, would you say, liked? What was the word you used?
So I think the really important thing when we talk about this is we talk about what we can measure. So the Gallup polling that has been done.
So you trust polls?
Oh, come on.
But that's where we're going, though.
There are lots of different.
I trust certain polls too, but I'm saying, so you trust polls?
If you say, do I trust a Rasmussen Republican primary poll 18 months before an election, I would say that's not very valuable. I don't think that's valuable. The Gallup public opinion sentiment poll that has been done over many, many presidents in the same way, I think that's a pretty good poll just to give a sense of how the world feels about the American president. I have no reason to distrust that. There are other polls where I would have a specific reason to distrust. But we're kind of going like 10 tangents here. I think if we want to talk about, am I upset that the U.S. isn't feared, since you brought that question forward, the appropriate thing would be for you to give me the data.
But no, go back to what you said. You said U.S. is what? You said you like the fact that U.S. is liked more today under Biden?
No, I didn't use that term.
What was the term you used, if you don't mind saying it again?
On average, countries respect the U.S. more now that Biden is president and Trump
you
is
value that.
I think it's important because can I tell you why?
Sure.
I think it's important because between trade and globalization and problems we deal with that don't respect the borders of countries, it's important to be, again, it's not about liked, it's not about, it's to be respected globally. I do think that actually matters.
So why do you think they didn't like or respect Trump? Let's see what you're going to say with that. Why do you think? Tell me.
The guy's a joke.
He is.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us why. And Biden's not a joke.
Well, we can talk about Biden.
Oh, because Biden's like the goat and, and Trump's the joke.
No.
Okay, so
I'm critical
tell us
of
why
Biden,
he's a joke.
But I think it's important to say: are we talking about Trump or are we talking about Biden?
No.
We can talk about both,
identify
but let's
both.
talk about them one at a time.
Stay on Trump.
Okay,
Stay on Trump
fair.
when he says he's a joke. Tell us why you think he's a joke.
Promises made that were not kept that he told us he was going to achieve for us. Let's look at some of them. I'm going to get rid of Obamacare and replace it with, his word, a beautiful replacement where everyone will have care and it's going to be affordable. Okay. Just flat out didn't happen. The one proposal that Republicans made would have led to 24 to 32 million people losing health care. I consider that a failure. I don't think Obamacare is perfect, but it's better than the thing Trump said he was going to bring us. That was just a failure. 2, build a wall across the entire U.S.-Mexico border, which Mexico is going to pay for. It's not even worth having a conversation. I mean, just a joke. Of course, completely didn't happen. Solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. No progress made. In fact, to be honest, and this is, if we want to delve into that, moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem got us further from that because it's seen as a sort of a taunting measure if you understand the internal politics of what's going on there. Was going to, made some space travel promises. I mean, I can't think of promises he made that he did keep, other than I guess he was going to do tax reform and he did tax reform. So as a policy matter, a complete and total failure. I do think maybe the First Step Act on criminal justice reform did some good things. I'm sort of glad to give him credit on that. But so, on policy, failure. And then, on rhetoric, we could spend 3 hours just looking at quotes.
So I'm curious to see exactly how you think now. So
Yeah.
If COVID doesn't happen, does he get reelected?
Yes.
Why?
Well, because his followers don't care about policy. I interview them all the time, and I say
His followers don't care about policy.
they don't care about achievements. They care about Hillary bad, Hillary Marxist, Hillary socialist.
You think Hillary's good?
Did I say that?
No, I'm asking you.
Oh no, I don't think Hillary was a good candidate, and she's to my right. No, I don't think Hillary's good, but I thought she was better than Trump.
She's to your right.
She's to my right. Yeah, Hillary
So
is
she'd
a
be
very
a moderate conservative Democrat.
in
your world.
Yeah.
Got it.
I mean, give me a left-wing Hillary policy, like a really left-wing Hillary policy.
I couldn't tell you, but that's
Exactly. There
not,
is none.
But it's not the point. But you're saying you would much rather have a Hillary than a Trump.
I would rather.
Okay, so go back to
Much rather, I don't know.
So go back to he gets reelected. Why? Because his voters could care less about policies. That's what you're
couldn't
saying.
care less.
Fine, no problem. So, but we both know that it's not the right that elects him, and it's not the left that elects whoever on the left. It's whoever's in the middle,
Not true.
the 8 to 12% that kind of says, you know what, I'm going to go this side, this time around, or versus more people come out for, their candidate, meaning a lot
Not
of people
really
would
true.
come out for Obama. Okay, so explain yourself.
What it actually more depends on is who chooses to go out and vote. It's less about, there's often this idea in politics, and there's lots of people who are really good on this issue that you could talk to, Rachel Bidikofer and even Frank Luntz, even though he's partisan, I think he would concede this as well. He's on the right.
Pollster, you mean?
Yes.
Frank Luntz, yeah.
The idea of the swing independent voter that sometimes on presidential elections will vote for a Republican and sometimes a Democrat, very, very small percentage of people. More common is that a candidate either activates people to vote or those same people just stay home. In the U.S., we have an embarrassingly low voter turnout. It's between usually 52 and 60%, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So almost half the electorate isn't even voting. It's less about people who vote one way and then another way. It's more about people who say, I'm just going to stay home versus I'm going to go out and vote. If they vote, it's clear.
So you're saying that the middle voter doesn't matter at all?
No, I didn't say that.
So what are you saying then?
I said they matter much less than who is partisan chooses to vote.
But
or
it's
to stay
fair
home.
to say that, okay, if he continues, and there's no COVID, he would get reelected. Do you think let's specifically target the middle. Forget the people on his side that would show up.
Well,
Okay?
but why?
That's the question I want to do with you right now. So if we specifically focus on the middle, would the middle, the independent, the libertarians, would they have chosen to stick with Trump, or would most have wanted to replace him with somebody else?
It's a polling question. I don't have the data.
Well, you're the poll guy, so I'm asking you.
I don't have the data in front of
Okay,
me.
I'd be curious to know. So but you're also correcting me to say that's not true. That's the middle and the independents that didn't elect him. You're saying it's who showed up that elected him.
As a general concept,
Right.
elections swing less based on independents who sometimes vote Republican and Democrat. That's a small factor. A bigger factor is, are voters activated by their candidate, or are they deactivated where they go, I don't like this person, but I'm definitely not voting for that one. I'll stay home.
So
Isn't it a bit of both, though?
It's a bit of both.
Because
but what
we
I'm
all
saying is
saw
it's
what
more
happened in
one
the
than
Rust
other.
Belt. We've seen countless stories about, I voted for Obama. I'm not racist. I voted for Obama. What are you talking about? I voted for Bush, then I voted for Obama, and then Trump showed up. He made some promises. He was in the Midwest. He was out there. He was reaching out, touching hands. Hillary was too busy in New Mexico and Arizona. I decided to vote for Trump. I was sort of done with Trump. Now I'm back on Biden.
Yeah, that's
we see so many stories like that. Though, these independents.
That's an anecdote, and so I think anecdotes are fine. But one of the things that is important is to zoom out from anecdotes and to look at the broader data. And the other thing that's important is a lot of that cross voting, it cancels each other out because you see roughly the same amount from one side versus the other. And what I mean by that is there was, if you look at the crossover in 2016, the number of Democrats who decided to vote Trump in 2016 was very similar to the number of Democrats who decided to vote McCain in 2008. So it's a roughly predictable number.
You're talking about Democrats who have switched over. I'm talking about just there's legitimate independents.
I'm giving you just one example of this: people who go either way or whatever. It's relatively stable and predictable, so it's rarely a difference maker. That's my only point. And we can anecdotes all day. You know, Jim Bob's wife decided to vote Hillary, or what. You know, that's totally fine.
But let's do data, because you're a data guy.
Yeah.
So if you're a data guy, tell us, when you're saying it's not necessarily that the middle would have had Trump.
Yeah.
Would he have needed the middle to get reelected in 2024, in 2020?
He would have needed roughly the same percentage that
Okay.
Republicans tend to need. Trump suffered because on the COVID thing, would he have gotten reelected? It's not only if COVID didn't happen, Trump probably would have gotten reelected. I think if when COVID started, instead of Trump saying, we have 15 cases, soon going to be 0, do flu vaccines work on COVID? What about bleach injections? All that stuff. If instead of that, Trump said, hey, you know what? We're the United States. We're going to deal with this better than anybody else. We're making MAGA masks. And by the way, 50 cents on every dollar will go, you know, his normal fundraising scams, right? Do the scams, but do the MAGA masks. And if he said, we're going to be absolutely the best on this thing, he wins. We saw it in New Zealand. We saw it in other places. It was a missed opportunity. Now, I think it was just a miscalculation in the sense that somewhere Trump probably thought it was really going to go away. I don't know who was around him. I don't know by Easter of 2020, right? I mean, okay. So I think Trump, even if he had just done that, and because we saw,
Why though? Why would he have? Why would the independents, the ones in the middle, who are, let's just say, slightly more reasonable, and they're willing to say, you know, I don't like this guy on the left, I'm going to vote right. I don't like this guy on the right, I'm going to vote left.
Yeah.
Why would they have still chosen Trump over Biden?
I have no idea. You'd have to talk to them.
Well,
I just don't know.
But you're given your arguments, and so your arguments you're given is you're talking about polls like Biden because America's more respected under Biden than Trump. Okay,
and that has nothing to do with American voters. We're talking about people in other countries.
But totally get it. But when you say something like that, the voter says, "Oh wow, the world respects Biden more than they respect Trump."
Sure.
Okay. Somebody may say, well, maybe because, you know, anybody who was an enemy of America hated Trump because Trump would, you know, deal more directly with them than Biden would. Biden, you can't necessarily see him. You know, he doesn't look like a leader. He's not an Obama-esque. He's not a Clinton guy. Biden doesn't come across as a strong leader, but you're saying he's more respected than Trump. Great, no problem.
Okay.
So then I go and I ask you a question and I say, if COVID doesn't happen, does he get reelected? Yes. Why? You say because more people show up, this whole narrative about the fact that you need the middle voter to tip them, that's not true. It's how many people show up, and it's his people because his people don't care if he gets anything done. And that's what you said. That was your narrative, right?
Yeah,
That's what you said. Those were your words.
Some of those
Activated.
words mirror the things that I said. Yes.
Okay, so it activates, which means so Trump's voters. So give me. When you say I speak to a lot of these Trump voters, there's obviously a lot of animosity in you. You have a lot of resentment or animosity towards them. I don't know why, but you seem
As
angry and
individuals?
upset towards Trump. I mean, your
Oh.
comments like, towards Trump is boom, voters are this, voters are that.
Well, I
to
think
you, what
the
what is-
problem may be with
what-
that. I have to
what-
interrupt that.
But I get that. So what is, and you can answer all those questions and I'll give you your time.
I'm not remembering all of them, but I'll try to write them down.
What is the DNA of a typical MAGA voter in your eyes?
There's not any typical DNA. I think there's basically three primary categories of people that vote for Republicans, and Trump introduced a fourth. Fair to introduce these four categories?
Break it down for us. For us that we don't have your intelligence.
Well, it's not about intelligence, and I don't know if you're being sarcastic. It's not about intelligence. It's just about have you researched?
This
have
is
you
your
looked at
world.
it? Okay,
so
fine.
this is your world. So tell us what you think about the three and the fourth.
With your intelligence,
Yeah.
imagine what you could do if you looked up the things I look up. That's really the incredible. Okay, no. So in all seriousness, four basic groups. Pre-Trump, you had three groups. You had sort of pro-business, low-tax right-wingers, people like Mitt Romney, basically. They are, Romney maybe isn't a little bit of an exception because as a Mormon, he has some socially conservative views, but you've got like your Romney type who's concerned with let's not overregulate businesses, let's not have taxes that are too high, let's create a good business environment. As governor of Massachusetts, that was sort of his idea, and that's a very blue state, and he did well. So you've got like your Romney types.
Traditional, low tax, limited government.
Yeah. Not
Republican,
not extreme
millionaire,
not extreme right on
business
social issues
type people.
not
exactly.
particularly homophobic,
Yeah.
for example, or okay. Then you've got your more libertarian-minded people. I found it interesting when you said you're independent and libertarians. In the U.S., libertarians are mostly right-wing, and they mostly vote for Republicans. So then you've got your very libertarian-minded people whose focus is that. We want just as much freedom to do as much stuff as possible. It often includes freedom to discriminate if I don't want to do, like a gay wedding cake. That you've got that group. You then have evangelical and religious voters whose primary things are less economic.
So what was your second one? Second one is
Libertarians.
Libertarian. Okay.
Third, you've got your evangelical
The Mike
religious
Pence
voters.
vote, if you will.
More the Mike Pence vote, people for whom abortion and gay marriage and more recently, trans stuff, that's really the most important. They'll go with the economic stuff, even though it's actually often not good for them. And you started to see this under Reagan a lot, where these religious voters, they went with Reagan, even though economically it wasn't the best thing for them. Those are typically the three groups.
You hear the common term. They're voting against their interests because they have social ideology that they
sometimes hear
gravitate
that.
towards.
So you've got those three groups. Trump had all of that. The early Ted Cruz support in 2016 is that third group, that evangelical. That eventually went to Trump. Trump coalesced these groups because they really weren't going to vote for Hillary. The fourth group, which Trump kind of created, is people who were not at all engaged with politics before. They didn't pay attention. They knew Trump as a celebrity. They didn't really have a political identity. They were disaffected. They weren't really participating before.
So four is his personality, is what you're saying?
Yeah,
Or
yeah. They got brought in
you
specifically.
said he introduced that? That's been around for a while, though.
He introduced what?
You're saying Trump introduced the fourth. You said typically it's three.
Oh, yeah.
But Trump introduced the fourth, or Trump has the fourth?
Trump is.
He activated the fourth.
activated this fourth group, which was people who were not in any of those three categories I mentioned and got engaged in politics for the first time because they heard Trump say something that they liked. Either
Give some examples of those type of. Are you talking about West Virginia coal miners or people in
No,
the deep red South?
they were from all over, but it was people who liked that Trump was going to fix trade with China. A lot of them didn't really know what that meant, but it sounded pretty good. Maybe the person had lost a job. They came to believe it's because of China that I lost my job. That sounds good. Or people who are on immigration, they're like the wall. Of course, you and I know you're never building a wall. Never mind, Mexico's going to pay for it. But there were people who liked the idea, never were in politics. Like, no, it sounds good. I'm voting for Trump. So he brought in this fourth group.
Okay, so the fourth group, to be exact, it's his personality that people were turned on by the way he was.
Could be personality, but it could be that there was one thing he said that they really liked.
So let me ask you a question. Is there something wrong with that? I'm curious. Are you going to a place where there's something wrong with that, or?
No, it's not about right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's a question of whether any of us think that the policy motivations for any of those groups align with ours.
Somebody may say there's a lot of people that showed up for Obama just because he was black.
Sure, they can say that. I don't
Right.
know. I mean, I don't know.
But
Is
what do you
that
mean? You don't think it's true?
Of course, in a country of 330 million people, there are going to be some.
No, but you
portion-
said you don't know if it's true. It's like, what do you mean you don't know if it's true? I don't
I
know
don't
how
have
many.
any.
You don't have any data. You want to get data to say people showed up that they just because they're black.
There's exit polling on most of these issues. We might be able to find it right now. You know.
No, it's you know.
I think it's fair to say people voted for him because he was
I
a
mean,
cool black
I cannot even tell you how many people. I knew Republicans who were voting for Obama in the insurance industry just because, like, listen, man, first time this guy talks like MLK. You know, he sounds reasonable. I'm going to vote for the guy. There's a lot of people that came out with him. So somebody may say, well, you know, the reason why Obama got elected because he's got the three difficult things when he talks to the Democrat, but the fourth thing is he was black.
Okay.
And are you going to say what?
I would say, yeah, I'm sure that there's a portion of people who vote based on that.
So you're saying the DNA of a Trump MAGA voter who looks past policies. So you're saying on the three policies he didn't check off, the three policies here, the 3 points. You're saying that.
I'm saying he didn't build the wall, or I'm not. I don't know what you're asking me.
Let me take a step back with you. So I'm asking you a question, and I said, so tell me if you're saying he's going to get reelected without COVID. You're saying he would have gotten reelected.
I think he would have.
Perfect. And then you said, your words, you said something in the context of, you know, because I think the MAGA voter is not about policies. That's what you said.
A lot of that fourth group, yes, is not about overarching accomplishments. Or like, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about, and maybe it'll help to distill it. I got a call at some point during the first term of Trump from a guy who said, I'm voting for this guy. This guy is just the best. And I said, oh, okay. What do you care about? How are you evaluating his performance to decide if you're going to vote for him in 2020? Like, I'm curious. How do you decide? He said, well, I care about the wall. So he's got to build that wall. And I said, perfect. If he doesn't build the wall, are you still going to vote for him? And he says, well, yeah, I'm not going to vote for a Democrat. So I said, oh, so it doesn't actually matter if he builds the wall.
The same with you as well, though. There's no way you're voting for a Republican either. Would you vote for a Republican?
Sure. Yeah. If I
have you ever voted for a Republican president?
No, I mean, I've only voted in a few elections.
Yeah,
no, but hold on a second.
But you're 40 years old. You're 1984, so
I'm 38. Please.
84, 38 years old. 38 is still, you've had plenty of elections.
Let's back up for a second. There's two questions. Would I and have I? I've only voted in a few presidential elections.
You've had plenty of chances.
Well, but who would I have voted for? I was going to vote for George W. Bush in 2004. No.
But it doesn't matter. The point is, when you're calling that guy out, you're the same as that guy.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so tell me a Republican you'd vote for.
I think you're missing the picture. I think
what is it, though?
The point is, he made a claim that he was going to make a vote depending on policy. And when I then said, so if the policy fails, you'll vote for someone else? And he said, no, actually, the policy doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. That's the difference. I'm not making that claim.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a completely different thing.
I mean, the same can be said. To take one example of a story of a person who sounds like an idiot, to say that and then categorize everybody in Trump as selective hearing. To say
that's not what I'm doing.
That's selective for you. Well, you are kind of doing that. You're saying here's a Republican voter who you ask, why are you thinking about voting for Trump? Oh, because he's building the wall. Then you said, if he doesn't build the wall, well, I would never vote for a Democrat. Well, do you care if the wall never gets built? No, I don't care. I'm going to vote for him anyways. Well, that doesn't sound like a reasonable voter to me, though.
That's right. He's not a reasonable voter.
Well, the reasonable voters to me was also, if you were to ask the average person who voted for Biden,
sure,
they didn't vote for Biden.
Okay.
They voted against Trump.
Okay.
Do you disagree?
I'd have to look at exit polls. Is that true?
So is that where you go to?
Something like
that. For
a
guy who, if this is your space,
yeah.
What's your podcast about?
What is it about?
What's your show about?
News and politics?
You should know this stuff. You're the expert. I brought you here.
I just don't remember that offhand. Let's find it right now.
But this is your world. Like, if you ask me questions on business, I'm going to say, let me give you my feedback on what I think about business.
Yeah.
You invite me on your podcast, and hey, Pat, I want to talk about business.
Let's do that.
I have no problem with it to do that part. But what I'm saying to you is, if you're coming here saying what you're saying,
sure,
and then I ask you a simple question of, so the same thing can be said about people that voted for Biden. Yeah, I'm going to vote for anybody. Dude, nobody would show up when Biden would speak. Did you not see his tour when he was going campaigning?
Patrick, you're not really doing this, are you?
Tell
you're
me,
doing this?
I'm actually curious where you're going to go now. What's
Biden wasn't even doing events where, I mean, this is the Biden one from the basement thing.
Yeah.
I have a counter to this entire, and I want to just be really clear. I don't really care about defending Biden in any particular sense. I just think he was the better option than Trump. I feel like I'm being framed as this Biden lover who's going to defend everything Biden
I'm not
did.
doing that.
Fair.
You may be thinking I'm not doing that to you.
What
I'm asking.
what I want to say about
yeah.
this is
Can
is
you
the
pull up
following.
Biden's rallies when he was running for president? Go ahead. Let's see the pictures. But go ahead.
Biden didn't do a campaign the way Trump did it. And the funniest thing to me about
Neither has anybody done it like the way Biden's done it. He hid.
Well,
but hold the guys,
this was during COVID, though.
Yes. Let's back up for a second.
Look how beautiful that is.
Well, that's
These are
because
COVID
it's
rallies.
COVID.
Oh,
If-
stop it.
Patrick,
You gotta be
can I
kidding
tell
me.
you
That-
something?
Pat, though.
This is really the
You're
the height
telling
of
me
COVID.
you're
You
okay,
seem silly
so
when you do
here's
this.
here's what I'm willing to do. Here's what I'm willing to do.
please.
I'm willing to give him
Yeah.
$1 million of my own money right now to go try to fill up an arena
For what's the point?
Oh no.
to show that nobody is inspired by this guy.
This is so silly.
No,
No,
but
what's
serious,
silly is for you to assume people voted for Biden. They voted against Trump, is what they did.
Many did. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I'm saying.
but no, what you just said.
I said I don't
5
know what the
minutes- yeah,
percentage is.
but
All I'm
that's-
saying is I don't
But
know
it's
the
your
percentage.
world, though. This is like if you're gonna sit here and sell, talk about how bad the Trump voter is, and let me tell you, these people, all they care about is his personality for it, outside of the taxes and all this other stuff. And then I ask you a question, I say, so why did people vote for Biden? Many of them voted because they just didn't want Trump. Yeah, I don't know the numbers on that. You should know those numbers.
What I just don't know that offhand. I mean, we can look it up. Why do I need to memorize?
Can
that?
I make a quick point?
Can I just get? There's just one thing I want to say here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This entire Biden hid stuff. It's such a self
Hit or hit?
hid
Okay,
in his
yeah.
basement.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about
He
pictures are
did
gone.
though. He hit a lot of times, but
Can I get a statement out? Okay. If I were on the right, I would stop saying that because it's embarrassing to Trump that he lost to a guy who hid in his
actually not.
basement.
It's not.
That's the crazy
dude,
thing.
your
I would stop
president,
talking
your
about
guy,
that.
Joe Biden, is the greatest hide and go seek champion of all time. That's
Wait,
who
hold
he
on a
is.
sec. When is he not? He's not your president.
He's my president.
Oh,
but
okay.
but
He's our president.
But he's your guy. He's the
In
guy
what
you're
sense?
defending. You're defending him right now to say
Only that he's better than Trump because you're making me do this.
the only reason that there's no way even the liberals today are not saying he's better than Trump in executing or taking action or doing anything.
Let's find that-
The
find that
only
poll.
the
Where's that
only
poll?
credit. Well, at this point, you've lost credibility to talk about polls because you don't even know what you're talking about when you're saying.
Well,
"Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the people were voting against Trump. Let's find a poll." So if you can't agree
I said
to that
I don't
part,
know how many. Of course they were.
it's not just
course
how
they
many. It's if you go on look at any of these people who were doing what do you call it, street when they're going talking to people
Street
and they're doing,
interviews?
yeah, it's like, hey, so tell me, who would you vote here? Trump's the worst. I would never vote for him. People didn't want to vote for this guy
Yeah.
because 99% of the media, everybody was sitting there bashing him nonstop. By the way, same thing's going to happen with DeSantis.
Yeah.
Same thing happened with Bush. The only Republicans Democrats like is ex-presidents who are now painters. That's the only Republicans Democrats like because they're no longer a threat. Trump's a big threat. So for you to say, well, we now have respect around the world,
Yeah.
I don't even know if I want that. I think if there's an element of competition,
Yeah.
because I think if China has to choose between Trump or Biden, and China would rather have Biden, that's probably not a good sign for me.
Okay. Is it a good sign if Russia wants Trump? I mean, this is kind of a silly game, right?
No, but Russia is not our number one enemy. Russia doesn't control 80% of chips. Russia is not as powerful as people think they are. They have a lot of nukes. They lead the world. Totally get it. But we're seeing right now what's happening to Russia. Russia is more, they're powerful. You got to put them up there. They're strong. But China is really, really strong and experienced. China hates America. China doesn't, they've publicly announced what they're going to be doing. You know, there's a very big difference between China and Russia. And by the way, I'm not sitting here telling you we got to be best friends with Russia. But if China likes a president, over another one, that is a red flag for me.
Yeah, it's not rare as a view on the American right that is generally, who cares what other countries think? I would almost rather they hate us. That's really common.
I didn't say that.
No, I'm not
That's
saying
what you were
did.
saying.
I
I want to see
really
a poll
common.
on that. Do you have a poll on that?
Not offhand.
Then
but
how could you say, why, do you have a poll? Give me a poll.
Patrick,
But no, give me a poll because that's an anecdote now.
we can use this
But no,
to stop any conversation.
But you're
hold on a
doing
second.
that. But that's what you're
But
doing,
you
though.
just did it with
But
the polls about
but
liberals
you're the
no longer
expert.
like
You're the
Biden.
political expert. I'm not.
Oh, come on. This
You're
is
the
so
political
silly.
expert. What you
This is
just
so
did. No,
silly.
you're being silly. So I'm giving you exactly what you've been doing for the first 30 minutes. Now it officially bothers you.
No, it doesn't bother me. I think it's silly. I think we don't get anywhere.
But wait a minute. But what you're saying is that if the argument you give, I said, show me a poll.
Yeah.
Show it to me. You can't do it.
There's a difference between you
Between what?
saying that there's a specific opinion among voters that they were motivated by a
Stop it.
particular reason.
You-
We have polling on that.
You like
we just
to-
have to find it.
You like
We could
you
find it
like
on this
you
page.
like to use that, but not when it works against you. Yeah, I didn't say hate. I'm not a hate guy. If I was a hate guy, you wouldn't be here today.
I didn't say that.
No, you said most Republicans would prefer if other countries hated us. You're assuming.
I didn't
now.
say most. Run it back.
Wait, you didn't say what?
I didn't say most.
You said
I
what?
said there is a contingent on the right,
Right.
that actually is emboldened by if they don't
How
like.
small of a community is that?
Don't know.
So you're going to take the exception? Are you going to make that argument?
Oh my God,
Yeah.
Patrick. I'm verklempt.
Yeah. You and I both.
You and Linda Richmond.
We're going tangent where we can't really drill down on any one issue.
I'm saying to you, hate is not. If I had hate, I would have not had you on.
I didn't
I would've-
ascribe that word to you.
You said, I said fear. I said fear is what I
Earlier
said.
in the show.
No. What I mean is, if China prefers any president,
Yeah.
for example, if McConnell is going to be president,
Yeah.
and China wants McConnell over, let's pick I don't know, over Tulsi.
Okay.
I'm not McConnell.
Okay.
If China wants pick what is her name, Liz Cheney? If China was Liz Cheney over Pete Buttigieg, I would be hesitant there
Okay.
because who is the number one enemy? Who is the number one enemy? I'm actually curious what you're going to think about that.
I don't know
polls.
about
This
the
is a
term-
part that I'm not asking polls.
I don't know about the term enemy. I mean, I think in terms of adversary, I think it's Russia and China differently in different ways, as
Okay.
you talked about. We depend way more on China for goods that we enjoy being cheap because they're made in China rather than here.
I agree.
That confers huge economic power to
Okay.
China. Russia, in a different way, yes, it's the nukes. Yes, it's the more unstable leader. It's also alliances with countries where Russia's involvement can goad or pull the United States in ways that are both resource intensive and politically disadvantageous. So I think
Such
those are
as
the
which
two.
countries? Give me.
I mean, there's the Afghanistan situation. You could argue Russia. I mean, with Venezuela, there's issues there that are more economic, relating to oil, which we've talked about. It's less about products and it's less about supply chain with Russia, although with energy, Russia is a factor. But I think those are our two biggest adversaries. I don't know if the right term is enemy. I'm open to exploring whether that's the right term. Certainly adversary is the right term.
I think I'm on the same page with you on whether it's adversary or enemy.
Yeah.
You know, keep in mind I've never taken anything past ESL in my English, so the word enemy and adversary may have the same meaning to me, maybe a different meaning for you.
Fair.
It's opposition is how I see it, but I agree. But the part for me is if a country
Yeah.
is overly comfortable with one and is afraid of imposing pain on them and kind of backs off a little bit, I want to know a little bit more.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.